thank you for to all the officials for being here today. My question is for Global Affairs Canada. What is Canada's position on the international human right to water? How has this position evolved, and what is the Canada doing to implement the right abroad?
Sure. One moment, Mr. Chair. I'll just check my notes. I was briefed by colleagues that work in the Human Rights Division before coming. So if I may, Mr. Chair, Canada recognized the human right of everyone to safe drinking water and basic sanitation as essential to the right to an adequate standard of living, and therefore implicit under Article 12 of the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. Canada interprets the right to safe drinking water and basic sanitation as the right to a sufficient quantity and safe quality of reasonably affordable and accessible water for personal and domestic uses. Water and sanitation services should be physically and economically accessible on an equal and non-discriminatory basis. Canada recognizes that a lack of water, sanitation, and hygiene affects women disproportionately, as they often have primary responsibility to collect and manage water resources. And I think Canada works through multilateral fora like the UN, the Friends of Water at the UN, and also the G20 to advance this right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, could I just? I'll stop your time. I was hoping. I don't know if that really answered the question. It was valuable information, but I think what Mr. Ali was asking, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the evolution of Canada's position on the international human right to water. Because for a while, it didn't recognize that right at the UN, but then changed its position and so on. But I understand that is you might not have that information at hand. So I would ask that the department submit maybe a briefing note on the evolution of Canada's position on this issue and the reasons why it changed at one point. So I would just request that be submitted in writing. And it's you made an interesting point about how ensuring the human right to water or water security dovetails with Canada's feminist foreign policy, and so that's why I've always thought that if we could create a foreign policy pillar for water, it would be very consistent with our global foreign policy that includes a feminist component. But I'm sorry to interrupt. I couldn't help myself, Mr. Ali, but I didn't take any time away from you.
But Chair, I think you have explained it very well. That's exactly I was looking for. My other question to to Global Affairs Canada. How does the department engage with international community on issue of freshwater security? Does the department work bilaterally with other nations on freshwater issues? Please provide specific examples.
Certainly, thank you, Mr. Chair. And to the first point about the evolution of Canada's position, I can certainly take that back, but really do want to, if I may, with respect, manage the committee's expectations that we're certainly in a position to talk about our position today and what we're advancing, rather than debating previous policy positions the government took. To the question of how Canada works bilaterally and multilaterally with other states on freshwater issues, I can certainly speak to our experience with the United States and certainly the close collaboration we have with the State Department and our engagement with the International Joint Commission. I think the International Joint Commission has been recognized as a world model in how two nations can effectively manage transboundary water issues. I mentioned the UN Group of Friends on Water. There was also a UN Water Conference last March where Canada played a prominent role. And also the IJC commissioners participated in that conference, which was another great way to show the world the strength of the Canada-US relationship and the model that in some areas it can serve for other countries. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. Again, to global affairs, how does the department monitor actual and potential situations of international conflict around access to fresh water?
Thank you. Thank you for the question, Mr. Chair. I think the issue of global conflict is certainly front and center in all of our minds. Certainly at the department, we've played an active role looking at issues related to whether it's the war in Ukraine, the conflict between Israel and Hamas, across the department through our numerous geographic bureaus, through our network of embassies, high commissions, and consulates around the world. We're very alive to the potential for conflict and certainly report back through headquarters and across the interdepartmental community when issues arise that need to be flagged.